Romance of the West Chamber. Author: Wang Shifu. Painting: Wang Shifu.
Romance of the West Chamber, by Wang Shifu, is internationally recognized as a masterpiece in the history of Chinese classical poetry and prose. It depicts the story of a young lady from the Prime Minister mansion Cui Yingying and a scholar Zhang Sheng, who met at the Pujiu Temple, fell in love at first sight, went through trials and hardships, and finally became lovers. It conveys a message of let all lovers become pairs through a story of the happy union of a talented scholar and a beautiful lady. Due to the influence of Romance of the West Chamber, Pujiu Temple in Yongji Shanxi province has become well known throughout China. Wandering in the temple today, visitors can always buy roses they like on the spot, and try to find some traces of this aged and beautiful love story. And the author Wang Shifu has also been acclaimed by literary historians and loved by general people. During the Zhenyuan period of Tang dynasty, after the death of Prime Minister Cui, his wife Mrs. Cui and his daughter Yingying returned to their hometown for burial, and on the way, they stayed in Pujiu Temple in Heizhongfu, Yongji County, Shanxi. Zhang Juanrui, a young scholar, was traveling to Chang'an to apply for the imperial examination. When he passed by the temple, he met Yingying and her maid, Hong Yang. He was impressed by Yingying's beauty and fell in love with her. After meeting Yingying, Zhang Sheng, ancient people call young men Sheng, decided to stay at the temple. So, he came to see the abbot of the temple and begged to rent a house in the temple so that he could read in peace for the exam while waiting for the chance to meet Yingying again. The abbot agreed and rented him a house in the west wing. When Zhang Sheng said goodbye to the abbot and left his house, he just met Hong Yang, the maid from Cui's mansion. After exchanging greetings, Zhang Sheng told Hong Yang, "My surname is Zhang. First name is Gong. And style name is Juanrui. I'm 20 years old, not married. I wonder if your family young lady has been married to someone else or not." Without waiting for him to finish, Hong Yang said a few words, turned around and left. In the evening, Yingying and Hong Yang went to the garden to burn incense as usual. When Zhang Sheng saw them, he took the chance and casually chanted a poem, wanting to impress Yingying. Yingying appreciated it when hearing the poem, and could not help complimenting repeatedly on it. Then she casually responded to him in a soft voice with a poem. The main idea was as follows. Lawn boudoir is deeply lonely, and she has no plans for her spring. It is expected that those who chant loudly should sigh with pity. Soon afterwards, Sun Feihu, a military general, heard of Yingying's beauty, and he led 5,000 men and horses coming to rob her. Everyone in the temple was frightened. Mrs. Cui was so worried, and she announced that if there was anyone who could retreat the robbers, no matter who it was, she would marry Yingying to him. When Zhang Sheng heard the news, he wrote a letter right away to his close friend, the White Horse General Du Ke, who later repelled the enemy troops and really relieved the siege of the Pujiu Temple. Mrs. Cui was overjoyed. Then she asked Zhang Sheng to move to the study in their mansion. The next day, she asked Hong Yang to invite Zhang Sheng to dinner. Zhang Sheng thought it was the offer of marriage to Yingying from old lady, Mrs. Cui. He was very excited. At the dinner, Mrs. Cui unexpectedly changed her mind and wanted Yingying to be brother and sister to Zhang Sheng. Hearing this, Zhang Sheng was very surprised, as if he had been poured with a scoop of cold water from his head, and Yingying was also deeply dissatisfied with her mother's decision. From then on, Zhang Sheng was so disheartened that every night he played the strings in front of the window to relieve his boredom. He played Phoenix, the song of Sima Xiangru's pursuit of Shuo Wenjun, and said to himself, "It's just that the old madam is ungrateful, but the young lady should not forget me." Yingying heard this outside the window and couldn't help but shed tears. Zhang Sheng was sick with grief. Yingying sent Hong Yang to visit him, and Zhang Sheng asked her to send a letter to Yingying. Then Yingying replied with a poem, suggesting that Zhang Sheng go to meet her in the garden at night. Hong Yang thought to herself that Yingying was reserved on the surface, but she was secretly dating Zhang Sheng in the letter. She deliberately did not say anything, just to see how Yingying would hide it from her. At night, she went to the garden as usual with Yingying to burn incense, but saw Zhang Sheng jump off the wall. Unexpectedly, Yingying temporarily changed her mind with the presence of Hong Yang. She blamed Zhang Sheng. "I'm burning incense here, what are you doing here for no reason? I should repay you for saving my life, but now that we are brother and sister, why are you doing this?" Zhang Sheng could not withstand the torture and was too sick to get out of bed the next day. Yingying was worried about Zhang Sheng's health and wrote him another letter. Zhang Sheng jumped up with joy when he read it. It turned out that Yingying was pretending to blame Zhang Sheng that day. She was worried that her mother had not gone to bed yet. She was also not sure if Hong Yang was reliable enough. Seeing that he was so excited, Hong Yang asked him what was going on, and Zhang Sheng told her that Yingying would come to the study in person to visit him tonight. In the evening, Zhang Sheng heard a knock on the door and hurriedly opened it, only to see Hong Yang gently pushing Yingying in. Having experienced so many twists and turns, and pain of lovesickness, this pair of lovers finally broke through the cage of feudal etiquette and swore that they would never leave each other. After a long time, Mrs. Choi noticed something abnormal about Yingying, and then she questioned Hong Yang by torture. Hong Yang had to tell the whole truth. Yet she then frankly blamed Mrs. Choi for not keeping her promise. Mrs. Choi was speechless and even felt embarrassed. So, she had to agree to let Yingying and Zhang Sheng become husband and wife. However, she also put forward a new condition that Zhang Sheng must go to Chang'an to take the imperial examination, and only after winning the official position can he come back to marry Yingying as his wife. Zhang Sheng had no choice but to go to Chang'an to take the exam. Yingying saw Zhang Sheng off in the long pavilion. They both shed tears, exhorting repeatedly and insistently to each other. Yingying asked Zhang Sheng to take good care of himself all along the way to Chang'an. And the Zhang Sheng told Yingying to be well cherished in the lonely boudoir. Later, Zhang Sheng did win the first scholarship, and eventually they got married and became a happy couple.